Let's start with there's a lot of talk from the programmers about audience index buying, or sometimes we call that programmatic, depending on how it's hooked. Tell me, first of all, Ben, you've come from a large deployment of the most advanced set of analytics and some great addressability coming out of Cablevision. So you have a lot of experience with this. Tell me first how you define it.
The it as in it. Well, I think, it's really just a shift to audience-based advertising on TV beyond just age and gender. So combination of more attributes that are available, and also the ability for advertisers to actually define audiences the way that they define them in their CRM system. So I think the other component is the decoupling of the data from addressable. So historically, addressable was really the only vehicle to kind of get granular household level data. And now that the data has been decoupled, it's available for linear optimization and kind of audience targeting on a conventional linear campaign, which is important just because that affects the national market much more than just the local.
A much bigger inventory set.
Absolutely.
So you guys have a big partnership between 605 and Charter, and you come with a long history of experience too, coming from Comcast. So tell me what you guys are doing together, and how is that unique?
Sure. Just first, from a Charter standpoint, over the last year and a half, we've had a big task of just pulling together 3 different companies, and that's just 3 different sales strategies, and unifying our product portfolio, consolidating operations, and consolidating our viewership data in 3 different data collection schemas. And in parallel to that, we've developed and deployed a new audience-based application that is fundamentally changing how we're selling TV, and that's the audience app that we launched in August. And really the reason that we were able to have that focus and get that deployed in the midst of all the other turmoil going on was our partnership with 605, because they've developed, and we co-developed this platform with 605, and their management team, as you'd mentioned, has the experience with set-top box data, with viewership data, and with linear optimization. But there's another aspect of our partnership as well. While we've deployed this application that now allows us to sell TV in terms of audiences and impressions, we realized the larger value, really, of being able to bring insights and value to programmers, to the national advertisers and agencies. And while I think we have great data assets, and it's census-level data to us, really the value of 605 is to be able to take our data, to pull it together with other data sources, and to better serve a national marketplace.
Well, you've definitely been a pioneer. Sometimes cable, it's because of infrastructure reasons, it's harder to be the pioneer. But outside of TiVo, Charter was the first to release set-top box data, I can recall. I think I was the first to buy it, 2008. And I can tell you the first thing I did with it, but I'm more interested because of your experience. When you got a hold of all of this data, what did you do, and what have you learned that you can share that is really insightful, that we should think differently about television?
Well, I think that the first thing is the effort to kind of normalize and process the data is pretty significant. Where you're talking about a system out to 16 million households, the majority
it's not really
of which
3 systems. It's probably much more than 3 systems, because it's because it's been all rolled up. Cable was a mom and pop business, so
exactly.
Charter was probably before Bright House and Time Warner was 5 other things, right? And so for the people who are coming from the digital side, they don't understand that is the hard, heavy lifting that is needed. And so
exactly. Yeah, just the data collection itself, with some of the legacy boxes. Now, what was great, it was because Time Warner deployed a lot of interactive applications early on, those boxes are collectible. So the bulk of the 16 or so million households are collected, which is phenomenal. And then it's just a question of getting it onboarded. And a lot of the effort with the application is just being able to process queries across such a vast data set within seconds, and getting that down to, right now you can run an optimization in under 10 seconds. And if we had tried to do this even 3 years ago, it would take minutes. So, a combination of processing power and also being able to kind of organize the data in such a way that, like, for instance, in the local markets, they're banging away against that local data set, so we can kind of filter the data based on the individual market. Now, what's interesting in the case of Charter is you're talking about over 80 plus markets, over 1,000 ad zones, each of which have their own inventory and rates information. So it's a lot of data ingestion. A lot of the work was processing the data, getting it to a state that it could be acted upon very quickly with low latency. And now, we're rolling out to literally all the markets. So it's really a game changer.
Well, it is important to explain how hard it is, but I'm still not going to let you off the hook. Let's share some insights. I mean, I could share the ones that we did from 2008, but I bet you.
The one thing that hasn't changed, sadly, is there's a lot of viewing that's not measured. And having a lot of experience in the New York market, I looked at it as kind of the long tail opportunity. There's a lot of long tail networks that aren't measured.
Let's put a number on it, at least 25.
It's
at least 25% of viewing is unmeasured, and then there's a significant part that's undermeasured.
Right.
But how about let's talk about the difference between markets, because what shocked me, because we were only able to get LA, and everyone would laugh at me because I'm trying to use LA. I'm like, but it's still 350,000 and we're getting started. Let's see what we see. And what do we see? In the top 20 networks were 2 that were unrated. The Jade network and I think like the Armenian network. And so clearly that had a lot to do with, I'm not sure if it was the Armenian, I know for sure it was Jade. But it was the difference that you're going to see market by market in viewership, which is what's going to entice the advertisers to want to participate in a more complex marketplace. So now that you have, what did you say, 80 marketplaces? 80
plus markets, yeah, and then there's, in each market, there's 10, 15 ad zones. So what's interesting is you could take 2 adjacent ad zones with very similar demographics. So they look just the same in terms of top-level demos, but when you do an index against, say, an auto model where based on the brand of manufacturer, literally in Austin South indexed like 2x against BMW, and then the adjacent market was like 1.5 times for Kia. And here it's like things like that the local salespeople have never been able to see before. So what's interesting is just to see how this kind of rolls out on a really local level. And then, obviously our broader ambition is to nationalize this so we can do this on a much broader basis.
Yeah, and I think a good illustration of that is we have run campaigns tune-in campaigns in partnership with some other programmers where we're creating schedules that are optimized at a DMA level. And then we're able to pull the ad exposure back and look at conversion rates. And when you look at a DMA level target against a national audience, we're able to pull the national ad logs and compare it to the local. The conversion lift is like 70%. And so you take that and then you magnify it down to a local zone level. And I mean, the differences there can really, particularly to local market, to a regional market as well, can really be taken advantage of when you have that level of granular insight.
Okay, so Ben deserves a lot of credit because I think it was probably 3 years ago when you came with your iPad and showed me the product when you were at Cablevision. And I was so excited to sit on a beach and order a plan, right? So are any of those 1,200 people afraid that now we're not even going to have a meeting anymore, that we're just going to, buyer and seller are going to communicate through a dashboard in real time, go all the way programmatic?
No, I mean, right now...
Any resistance from those 1,200 people? Are they nervous? Are they...
I don't think there's... I mean, it's a question that has come up. But, one of the things that I think, we look at this as a way to have a more consultative sell with our clients. And, one of the things that's important to note is that this isn't something that... It's not a platform that's running in a vacuum. We're using this to change how we're selling television and to be able to express it in terms of audience. But we're combining this with our audience-based sales on set-top box VOD and IP linear and IP VOD on our players and partner players and other digital products so that we can create a broad kind of cross-screen, cross-platform campaign that's targeted against the same audience segments. And then we have a platform on the back end that shows a consolidated view of how your media is performing against that audience across all of the media that you bought. And so, this could arguably be a first step towards programmatic, but there's such a complexity to the multiple product portfolio that we have that this tool for linear alone is not going to take, our sales team out of the picture.
Okay, safe for now. So let's talk about 605 beyond charter. So first of all, it's amazing that you in Cablevision could do it in a matter of minutes. Did you say minutes? And
Yeah.
now at Charter, you're doing it in a matter of 20 seconds. I could tell you there's a lot of people in the room who can't do this. There is no real-timeness lookup anything, right? You're sitting on one of the kind of maybe two places where you can do it if you've left that legacy behind it.
If you're working
Cablevision, I
with a
haven't
small
checked.
sample, yeah, like what, the way around it now is you just kind of distill the data down into a small sample, and then you kind of project off of it. What's different about this, it truly is census level
Yeah.
data, second by second data across all of
Well, talk about your aspirations. I know that, Charter is a investor, an integral part of 605. But talk to me how you get outside of the 80 markets is a lot, but if you're shooting for census, you got to get beyond Charter. So talk to me about other partnerships or how you're approaching it.
Our approach, our whole focus is to, first of all, remain independent, so we're not necessarily grading our own homework, but
Yep.
in this quest for more data, we're replicating relationships, similar to what we've struck with Charter. And it could take the form of a data licensing agreement, but I think the relationships that are the most integral are the ones where we're actually providing services back. So right now, because a lot of the MVPDs don't really have the infrastructure, I think they've done a great job in building data warehouses to kind of house the data. There might be BI activity going against that within the cable company, but I think where we can help propel the industry is to onboard the data and make it actionable in the same way across multiple MVPDs, and whether that's to benefit the local advertising or whether it's rolled up to a national census. I mean, ultimately, we do strive to get a national census where the data and the rights around the data are very similar. One of the unique aspects of this relationship is that we have unrestricted append rights, and historically,
Which is huge.
Those are very restricted. So
Yeah.
anytime, you want to do an append, there's certain
Very broad
restrictions.
append rates.
Hip, health, yeah, I know, exactly. There are a few. What was great about it, though, is I think the largest chunk of the contract was actually the library of attributes.
Which is so
But-
important. I mean, I know working with 250 addressable campaigns, as soon as the advertiser gets smart enough, we're going first party.
Right, and
And
then everything
80%
grinds
of
to a
that's
halt because you
first
gotta go
party.
get
Yeah, and now we got to get
metrics.
all that data appended.
Right.
So, I mean,
And that's-
congratulations.
I think that's the key. Now,
Yep.
we're really excited, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Charter. We definitely think, that this is kind of a model going forward, and our goal is to basically replicate the same type of relationship we have with Charter elsewhere. And I think based on this huge shift in the marketplace, you started by talking about the IT. I think, the IT, from my perspective, is, the most dominant players on the supply side, namely the large networks. This shift to more audience-based
Yep.
selling and the adoption of alternative data sets was a really important milestone.
Absolutely. Well, I know I've seen a demo of the product, and I have seen some marketing materials too. So could we have people go visit spectrum.com, and can you where did I see the demo of the actual kind of, it's a sizzle
Just a
reel.
video.
Yeah, there's a
Gotta
sizzle
call your
reel.
local salesperson.
Yeah,
and-
if you
Exactly. Yeah, and
So
there is
the
a
ad-
demo, and I have it there on my application. If you want to buy something now,
I think
my
there-
iPad's right over there.
I think there is a sizzle reel, so I've seen
is,
that,
yes,
and I
yeah.
watched the sizzle reel, and in about 20 minutes, my phone rang, and it was a rep calling me saying, yeah. So your addressability
Targeted
is spot
advertising,
on.
that is, yes.
But thank you for your leadership, because it really is starting to become a reality, and it's fun to see. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.